Mhm. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's all right. Thank you for the audio check. And welcome aboard to this live show. And here we go. So, hey, everyone. Welcome aboard this shortwave radio stream. This is a stream that now, and we'll explain that a little later, is going to be the first Saturday of each month. So the next one will be October 7th. So this is a decision that I took to now have these live shows only once a month for several reasons, and we're going to talk about it. There's going to be changes on the channel on the way things are happening. Welcome. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast parts of North America. We are here once a month now with a live show for Saturday, 20 hours Universal Time. Talk about a radio, shortwave radio in general. And we, of course, have a chat room where you can join in with a lot of beautiful people. And when the live show is over, there's a Facebook group, more than 3,500 members there to that post and that have fun listening to the radio and tuning around the bands. So, welcome aboard, everyone. It's nice to be here. If I look a little tired, it's normal. I was the fortunate winner of the COVID lottery. So 2 weeks ago, I got COVID for the second time, and this time it hit kind of harder. And it's although I'm feeling okay, I got this lingering kind of I don't know. It's my energy level isn't back up to 100% for sure. So that was the bad part of what happens. I did a lot of few things with some friends and different events, so I'm not sure exactly where I got it, but it's definitely having a comeback because I mean the number of people around me that got it is surprising. So it's definitely there, and it's there to remind you that it's not gone, that it's still lingering. So, orange juice. Cheers, everyone. So, this is orange juice and lime flavored sparkling water. So, RJ Dakota, nice to have you here. We have Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. Master Players Radio and Television Plus Gaming. We've got David's Radio Room, nice to have you here. We've got Rob's Radio Channel, nice to have you on board. We have, let me just check it out. Check it out. Richard Wagner, nice to have you here. WA9301 SWL, nice to have you here. Rob, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. We have Shortwave Archive, nice to have you here from Colorado. We have Justin, nice to have you here. Trevor, nice to have you here. Robert Varner, nice to have you here from New Jersey. KC2TL. WF7I Ombrew, nice to have you here from Virginia. Sorry we missed each other. It was a little complicated here. TVDXer, nice to have you here. Bonjour, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien. We have Charles Williams, nice to have you here from San Diego. Artist Auto Crafters Kitchen and Audio Lab, nice to have you here. Broke your left foot, oh darn. Hope it's getting better. So sad. Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi, nice to have you here, and nice to have you on board. We have, let me check it out. Any other people here? So Shortwave Archive. Radio Kid, nice to have you here from Washington, D.C. D. Matthews, nice to have you on board from England. Putting the MLA 30 back up. Cool. M7 MVD. Nice to have you here. Bob's Old Records. Nice to have you here from New Mexico. John Crawford. Nice to have you here. Cliff Bolts. Nice to have you here. WD4OBP. And Matt. Nice to have you here. MDK2. Nice to have you on board from Colorado. RY491. Nice to have you here from the UK. Thank you, Rob. So what else do we have? We have Greg. Nice to have you on board. There's other crafters. Yeah. Well, YouTube, the problem with YouTube is not that they're doing that many changes. It's what's happening with YouTube is it goes with advertising. YouTube, Google as a whole is a big advertising company. It's what it is. People tend to think of Google as a search engine. It's not. Google is the biggest advertising company in the world. It's what it is. And of course, YouTube is part of all of that. And what the problem with YouTube is that, like this year, every creator is going to tell you that monetization on YouTube is down. Everybody's have lower monetization, but it has mostly to do with the fact that the ad revenue that goes with YouTube and goes with Google follows the trends of what companies want to spend. And so because there's a lot of uncertainty and there's always that talk of the possibility of recession and all of that, a lot of companies that were spending a lot on ads are not. So the ad revenue is down because the number of ads available on YouTube is down. And that, of course, means that since all the ads, the way that Google works is that the ad revenue and what it costs you if you want to run an ad on YouTube or on a Google related service, it depends on the amount of people that actually are interested in putting an ad there. So there's the ads go through an auction type thing. And auctions have the up and down of if nobody wants to put ads, then the ads don't pay much. And if in the other way around, like at Christmas, everybody wants to put an ad, prices of ads go up. And of course, that follows. It follows that trend. You could see it on YouTube monetization. If you guys would see how monetization works in YouTube, you'd see on my YouTube studio, you could just clearly see that for the same amount of views, the amount of money that comes in isn't always the same. It's up sometimes, it's down sometimes. It all depends on so many factors. So there's a lot of things like that. And actually, it's ad revenue is going down for everything. If you look around, even your local newspapers are going to tell you that ad revenue is down. As everywhere, it's down. So of course, there's so much money that goes into ads, and what happens at some point is that if you get into a doldrum of ads being not as much as they used to, well, the ads pay less because to be there doesn't cost as much money. So there's this big thing, but that's part of YouTube, and that's part of what YouTube is all about. And over 11 years, I saw the ups and downs of YouTube a lot. But it made me realize a lot more into where my energy needs to go. And that's the thing about the shortwave channel, is that the shortwave channel I maintained mostly because it is something that I kept along while doing the tech channel stuff and so on, and it was kind of fun. But the problem is you realize that if my tech channel gives me more money for the videos that I post, at one point you got to think some time and think, well, all the time dedicated to the shortwave channel, I need to dedicate some of it to the tech channel, because that's where that time makes money. And this is my job. So a lot of people don't seem to understand it. When somebody asked me the other day, it's like, why should I donate? What do you do with the money? How about making a living? It's like if I ask you, what do you do with your paycheck every week? Well, make a living. That's the way it is. For me, this is my paycheck. So all of this goes with, okay, the time dedicated to different things need to change, but also ideas of things that come to mind that need to, it's fun to do this, but you need to increase the amount of money that comes in also. If I want to spend time here, it has to pay. And it might be a hobby, but there's no rule that a hobby cannot be also something that you can make money off it. In fact, that's what radio stores are all about. Why do radio stores exist? Selling radio and radio gear? So there's a lot of things like that, and so I will be devoting more time to my tech channel than I am here. There's still going to be videos here and stuff like that, but I'll have to step down a little and have a little less stuff, definitely, and choose it differently also. It's it's kind of cool. So, anyways, you gotta make choices. Inductive reactance, capacitive reactance. Nice to have you here. Went kind of down for like 30 seconds at a time, 7 or 8 times in the last week and a half or something. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what, and it seems to coincide with the fact that the cable company came and played with the box outside. Something was, I don't know, they're plugging in a new neighbor or something. But anyways, Saldamino, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Kenneth, nice to have you on board. May the juice be with you. Jean Arash, nice to have you here. Nilo, nice to have you here. Ricky, salut, nice to have you on board. And thanks for being here from Calgary, Alberta. No problem. Shortwave Archive, best place to be, outside with a radio and everything. Cool. Yeah, I had some plans that got COVID. There's so many things that happened together. It's like, so yeah, we'll rearrange. I'm sure we'll have an occasion at WF7 Iomber to meet at some point. Sorry for that once again. Tristan, nice to have you here from Newfoundland. What else do we have? Skipwave DX, nice to have you here from the Catskill Mountains in New York. Francis Moore from the UK, nice to have you on board. Master Players Radio, the question never got answered. Are we going to have to get rid of ad blockers altogether, and there will be some enforcement to ban? The thing is ad blockers are not the bad things. It's the question isn't there. When I personally go to some of the pages that I visit on the web, I can tell you one thing. The thing about the ad blockers is that it has to be used. People need to understand that there's a way you can use it. And there's websites. Actually, YouTube did an experiment. I don't know how it ended. I don't know what comes out of that experiment. But YouTube took a subset of users, and when they went to see YouTube videos with an ad block, it told them you can't see videos unless you turn it off. And I guess it's an experiment to see, should we enforce a rule that if you're using an ad blocker, you cannot come to see videos on YouTube anymore. So they did that. They did another subset of users that had a different thing. It said, oh, you're using an ad blocker. We're giving you 3 videos you can view before. If you want to continue after 3 videos, you need to disable the ad blocker. So they did that also. I have no idea how it turned out and what exactly are they thinking. Is it, I guess the experiment was there to, should we enforce a, ban on ad blockers on YouTube? I don't know. What you got to understand is that, yes, as a content creator, I make money off of YouTube for monetization, but it's shared revenue, which means the money I make, YouTube also has a share of it. So, like somebody came to me and said, well, it's YouTube screwing everybody, making more money. Actually, no, because if my revenue is down, YouTube's revenue is down. It goes together. It's a shared revenue that never changes. The percentage of revenue sharing is the same all the time. It's never changed since the monetization has started on YouTube. So if ad revenue goes down, YouTube's revenue go down too. It's shared. So, it's a complex thing. It has to do with so many things. And there are other ways to monetize. So, I should, ad blockers. No, I don't believe in having ad blockers going away. Like I said, there are websites that the ad blockers exist actually for a very simple reason. Some websites are going completely nuts with ads. Some websites are to blame actually for ad blockers, because people came to a website, saw a million pop-ups and said, whoa, I need to have an ad blocker because this is the most annoying thing in the world. And the problem was, it's like TV. If you watch TV and you don't have, one of those boxes where you just record the show so you can just skip the ads, TV, people tell me, oh, YouTube is annoying with ads. Well, go watch TV and you'll see that YouTube is nothing compared to what TV is. Also, remember that a lot of the ads on YouTube, if some channels you might notice are more annoying than others, and it's because I have control over how many ads you guys can see. So when I put online a video, say that would be more than 10 minutes, it's like a live show, for example, I could go back on the live show and I could say, I want to have an ad every 5 minutes. And I mean, some creators go nuts on that. And it is annoying. I watch YouTube videos of some channels where the number of ads is kind of, surprising. There's a a safe way of putting ads as to not to annoy too much people compared to the time spent watching the content. Unfortunately, some abuse that and put way too many ads. It's like, and I don't believe in that, because let's face it, if you put too many ads, what happens? What happens is that you just annoy people and they won't come and see you anymore. So you're actually there's a number of ads that if you go over that number, people are just, you're not going to make more, you're going to make less. So, so there's Woke Know It All. Nice to have you here. So there are a few things that can be done for ads. And there's a few things that also is, how can you get more revenue off of this? And I came to a point where there will be some paid content here. So we'll have the free content, and there's always going to be free content here. I will always maintain this at least once a month free show. Absolutely. That will be there. But I need to, if I want to spend more time here, and if you guys want to see more radio reviews, well, you need to have money to buy radios, and money comes off of the channel. So you need to find ways to get the money to buy new radios and continue doing reviews. So there will be a set of things that I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue down quickly. I just want to try to go as down as possible, and I'll answer the questions. Brian Penny, nice to have you here. We have Gareth Brennan, nice to have you here. Eric, I keep getting buffering, so this is kind of interesting. Maybe something on your end. Salamino says it's not only YouTube show, it's also a lot of forums never used to be that way. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's not just YouTube. Like I was saying, it's not just YouTube. It's the whole ecosystem of how advertising is working on the internet as a whole. So, but like I said, ad blockers are not a bad thing, and no, there should not be a ban on ad blockers. I think it's a question of being responsible using it. There are people out there that put the ad block on and never think of turning it off for stuff that they like. Remember, nothing is free on the internet at all. The reason YouTube exists, ads. If there wouldn't be no ads, it wouldn't be there anymore, because imagine the cost of running YouTube. It's enormous, and it has to be paid somehow. And people just come in and watch videos for free. A lot of people have not that didn't really get that or grasp the fact that, yeah, but you don't understand it. It has to be paid by someone else if you're not paying for it yourself. And of course, the ad revenue thing is still a lot of what pays for, it might be annoying to see an ad, but that company, that ad that it just put there was what makes it possible for you to not spend a penny and continue watching whatever's happening. And that's the whole thing here. Matt says disable ad blocker for show and select few channels. You that's the way it works. If you like content of somebody or some website, it's an ad block. The best way to use it is to let ads go through on the content you love, so that revenue can be generated. You don't have to turn it on everywhere, but you can turn it on for what you love and what you like. And that's the way I always say, how ad block is all about. And it's like I said, we shouldn't ban ad blockers. They have a reason to be there. UTV and Ham, KD9WNV, nice to have you here. David's Radio Room. Okay. UTV and Ham, KD9, thank you so much for the tip. Jim F, nice to have you here. Mark Emerson, nice to have you on board. So Matt is getting buffering. So random buffering. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So maybe there's something up today with YouTube. Let me just continue here. WSMI, is there any avenue where just gonna try to refine where I was. Successful fundraiser of some sort could provide enough to boost for you do more, a GoFundMe or like that. The problem is, and this is where it is also on, we talk about the donation stuff and all of that. And what happens with that is that It's just a select small number of people that actually donate. So it's easy to wear out the donation thing because it's too small of a percentage. It's not even 1% of the people that donate. It's as simple as that. Not even 1%. So think about it for a second. If not even 1% of people donate, you can't ask the same people for money all the time. They'll get tired too, and money isn't endless. But it's one of those weird things where you got to think where to do and how to do it in a way. And I think the best way is, so anybody that gives donations is fine, but there'll be content that you can view if you pay a fee for it. So one of the things I wanted to announce today particularly is I'm going to take a date soon, maybe in 2 weeks from now. Everybody that has given a donation during August and through today and through the month of September until that will be invited to a special private Zoom meeting. We'll all have a Zoom meeting together. So anybody that has given a donation of any amount, all I will need is to have your email. So for those of you that gave a donation through PayPal, I got your email through PayPal. If you gave a donation through here, I will need to have your email so that I can add you to my list for the private Zoom. So that's one thing that I will do is possibly every month, everybody that will have donated in some way through the donations here with the super chat, donations through the videos. On the videos, you can actually click that little heart button, which is a donation for a video. That it's a super thanks that they call it. And of course, there's a PayPal donation. So PayPal, for those that go through their donations, is this email here. But all of you that will have donated something will be invited to a private Zoom that we'll do a few hours together, talking about radio, sharing. And the Zoom is fun for one other thing, is that it lets us really have an interaction in person if you want. So we can talk radio, answer questions, stuff like that. So there will probably be a monthly, depending on the donations and how it goes, a monthly private Zoom for all of you guys that donate. There also will be some sessions that I will be making that will have to do with learning how to use your radio, shortwave, whatever seems to be something that interests and that people want to learn and be together. And we'll have Zooms for that. So I'm thinking that through the fall, we'll have Zoom meetings that, for example, how to use your radio to the fullest, for example, and show tips and tricks on how I tune around and how we should tune around and so on. And what's going to happen with that is, I'll charge, like everybody wants to get in, this $5 fee for a 2-hour session of, let's learn to efficiently tune around shortwave on a portable radio, for example, or learn more about a specific radio in general, and so on. So these are stuff that I'm thinking of that's going to happen. So I hope it's not buffering too much for you guys. I see that a lot of you are mentioning that there's some buffering going on. Ricky says, I'm a little biased on this stuff, but we must remember YouTube, Instagram, TikTok don't exist to benefit creators. At the end of the day, they only are looking out for themselves. Yes and no. It's without the creators, they are not there. So it's there for everyone. And they are there partly, yes, for us. It's not, it's a business. But I don't think about it that way. for a very simple reason, Ricky, that they don't have to give you any. They don't have, they don't have the content if they don't do something to help you be there. So it's, of course you've got to think about these big companies as being the ones they got to make money, and that's for sure. But you also got to think that YouTube would not make the amount of money it makes without the creators that they have on it, and they still have to be careful with that. Pedro, nice to have you on board. Joe Spring, nice to have you on board. And what else do you have? Says here you can always do a premium membership thing, pay up or shut up. There's going to be some stuff happening for sure. That there will be some paid content. Thank you, D. Matthews, for the tip for towards Tim Hortons. What else do we have? You mentioned some special event preview thing, which sounded interesting. Any more thoughts on those? Yep, there's gonna be announcements coming in the next few weeks. There are gonna be videos posted, announcements on the Facebook group too. But Saldamino, it's not going to work very well with a alligator clip. Often it's more noisy than anything else on the MLA30. If you don't have an antenna jack, you can still try it, but it might not be the best, unfortunately. Jeffrey Naylor, yeah, well, that's one way. Any premium subscriber to YouTube automatically gives an amount every time a video or a live show is there for sure. Oh yeah, Montreal. I love Montreal. It is definitely an amazing story. I mean, an amazing city for sure. So it's pretty cool. Biz, what should just better, XH data D219 or R912? I'd probably go to an R912 if you have one available rather than a D219. Yeah, that is one thing, Matt, that I totally understand. I look at the International Radio Report Show channel, and that's a channel that we post a weekly International Radio Report. It's not monetized, and yet there is some ads playing. That is 100% YouTube making the money, which is kind of sad. Chris Williams, nice to have you here. K5RCW. Yep, I am listening to Voice of America on 15580. It is coming in very well. Actually, it's less than it was. It was a little stronger. It was actually a lot stronger when I started. It kind of fading out a lot. Oh yeah, the long ads is sometimes there's a problem on YouTube is sometimes when they put an ad that's like a minute ad in front of a 3-minute video, so the ratio is wrong. Jeffrey, that's not an application. That's the screen off of my Yesu and radio. So yeah, well, definitely YouTube can be annoying. But there are people that abuse that that ad, definitely. So this is there are different rules for ads on YouTube, and the thing is that if you make videos that are less than 10 minutes, usually you don't have mid-roll. So this is one rule on YouTube: less than 10-minute videos don't have mid-roll. It's not, you can't turn that on. So it can be interrupted in the middle. If I make a video that would be more than 10 minutes, then there's something that is called mid-roll that could be done. There's different ways of mid-roll. You could leave YouTube doing mid-roll. Here on the live show, the YouTube mid-rolls are every 30 minutes, which is fine. 30 minutes isn't that annoying. But some people will go back to their YouTube Creator Studio, go into the monetization, and click to put ads at like every 7-10 minutes. And it's like, whoa, this is way too many ads. Chelsea, nice to have you here from Ireland. And says, I have a couple of texting, would really love them about SDR. And new shortwave about a year, continuing to learn. Cheers. SDR is a lot of fun. They're a different way of enjoying the hobby. So So it's the Yaesu FTDX10 on the screen. John Hummel Noel, nice to have you here. VE5JHN says, 9 million hands on YouTube as much as if they were scheduled properly. Yeah, the problem is the ads are not, if they are automatic, there's kind of a process where YouTube kind of scans, but sometimes people just put them without even thinking about it. Yeah, well, Rob, when your channel's monetized, sorry, what happens is in YouTube Studio, you have the monetization tab. When you go there, you can look at your videos, and you have control over all the ads that are played and how many of them are going to be viewed. So if you do a 30-minute video, if you do nothing, YouTube will take care of itself of putting some ads in specific places. Usually at the start, on a 30-minute, there'll be at least one mid-roll, and there'll be maybe one at the end. But if there's too many of them, or if something is not right, you can go in YouTube Studio, and in the monetization, you can remove ads. You do what you want. The problem is people put too many of them. I've noticed that if you leave YouTube doing it automatically, which is what I do most of the time, they're not annoying in general. YouTube itself doesn't annoy you. The ones that annoy you constantly, it's the creator that's going to play and puts too much ads in it. Bob Raymond, nice to have you here. Jay Warrison 69, nice to have you here. Storms, Radios, and Cats, nice to have you here. John Hem, nice to have you here. So, well, John M., if you don't watch any ads, you shouldn't be here. All I'm going to say. Lawrence Gilmer, nice to have you on board. EA3IEK, nice to have you here, David, in Barcelona, Spain. Oh, absolutely. Advertisements have been there forever. I mean, when we were young and watching TV, I mean, even the Saturday morning cartoons, I mean, ads is the way to go. That's how over the air TV got, advertised ads. It was always like that, you know. I lost my spot. There you go. So yeah, advertising been down forever. Absolutely. Yeah, if you pay premium, if you pay YouTube Premium, Jeffrey, YouTube Premium, there's always a small amount that goes to creators every time you view one of their videos, or if you watch a live show like this, there will be an amount from that premium subscription that goes to creators all the time. Stan, nice to have you here. News broke that Alex Jones' last day on WWCR is this Friday. Oh, really? I'd say, time that he goes away. Goodbye. It's like, come on. I just can't, if it's tough. I don't want to talk too much about that because it's a sensitive issue. But when I hear radio in the United States at night, tuning around AM, for example, it's I find it incredible how some of the trash can be on the airwaves. Here we have very few stations that actually go to the edge of what acceptable. But one of the things that happens here, we have one in Quebec City, which got in trouble so many times because we had a Alex Jones style guide there, and he would say things that went beyond the acceptable limit of privacy and what you can see on the airwaves. Here we have, I would guess here we have in terms of what can be said before you get trouble. And so we tend to have, even though there are quite a few of those that happened over the years, the hate speech radio that I will call is less of an issue here than it is in the United States. In the United States, a lot of it is what I call not free speech, but hate speech. And for me, that's a different category. And it's sad. It's sad. When you scan the AM band here at night, oh man, I just want to turn it off. So, I think it's good riddance. It's fine. Christopher, nice to have you here. Says thanks for learning the new RTL SDRv4. So yeah, as long as you make sure and be careful that you ordered it through them so that you have the correct one. So the RTL is the RV4. One of the main things is that you don't have to do that Q branch switch anymore because of the up converter to get shortwave or VHF. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I'll check out. I know that it seems to be they're only going to have some available at the end of September. So when they get back in stock, I'll check it out. Maybe I'll order one to test out. Skipwave DX says, so I'm seeing some ads are given right in the videos by the content creator. Yeah, there are some people that have that. For example, that's one thing that I could do would be to see if I could get some advertisers that want to have an ad. If I do it myself, an ad block doesn't work against that. You'll have to go through. That is one thing that I've been checking out. And nothing that has to do with radio. It would have, if I have an ad, for example, for a sponsor, my ad would be, neutral, something that, I don't know, glasses, like there's this Professor Rock guy that I watch. He's got some of those advertisers, and for one of them is Zenny Eyewear, where he's wearing all of these different glasses all the time. Things that are not related to my content. If I talk about glasses or I talk about coffee, it doesn't have anything to do with. It could interest you guys, but it doesn't, put me into a category where, because I don't have radio advertising. Radio advertising is too delicate. I talk about the radios the way I want. That means I don't want to have radio related ads, so that I can say what I want, how I want, when I want, without, there's no conflict of interest in there. So, it could be, anything else, things that might interest you guys, but are not related to radio necessarily. Stan said, need to find someone who I can purchase a good used 40 channel sideband CB. There's a lot online. You should check it out. Matt, take my money. It's like, yes. What is Futurama when they have the iPhone? It says, shut up and take my money. VT Radio, Paul, nice to have you here from Vermont. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you on board. Terrence, nice to have you here. KD2ANN. We have what else do we have? Miji, nice to have you here. John in Tampa, Florida, nice to have you here. Stan, my wife disabled and in remission from cancer, and is an amputee. I'm in remission from cancer. Wow. Hope that things are going to go well. Thank you, WF7I Homebrew, and nice, much appreciated. Bob Raymond. Yeah, there's a Patreon. I used to have a Patreon for a while, but it was complicated for a lot of people, and I just put it on hold. Joe Spring, good point about the creators of content. Recall musicians paying radio stations to play content. Yeah. Yeah, well, 30%. The super chat is 30% goes to YouTube. But there's the PayPal that, of course, a lot more of it, most of it goes to me. Nice to have you here, Larry. Marvin Motts, nice to have you here from Japan Islands. Educational and Behavioral Conservancy, nice to have you here. Kevin Bradley, is there a radio that sounds as good as the R9700DX but uses DSP for tuning? Bert says 15 meter FT8, really hot. EP, does Texan have any new radios coming out? None that I know of. I think that they've kind of gone pretty much to the relaxed zone now. I don't expect to have Texan release any really big um, radios soon. So thank you, David's Radio Room. Much appreciated. And by the way, all of you guys that have are sending donations, you will be invited in probably Saturday. So next week is the 9th, Saturday the 16th. And the week before, you should all be getting an email with a Zoom link for a private Zoom on Saturday the 16th. Probably at the same time, roughly 20 hours Universal Time. So everybody, that counts even for the Super Chat. The ones on the Super Chat, if you send a donation, I'd like to have your email so I can send you the Zoom link. Send it to official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Here's the email. Here's the email that you should send your email to. In the case of donations on PayPal, I've got your email there, so that will be used to send you the Zoom link. But probably Saturday, I'm counting that it's going to be Saturday the 16th. We'll have a private Zoom together and have fun with that. Complain about ads interrupting the videos of one bigger channel, and the creator answered that basically I was telling him not to run ads at all. But I think he rethought, yeah, because there's ways that you can put them so that they're not annoying all the time, you know. Yeah, well, the algorithm is kind of complicated. It's so weird that type of ads they put, and it has to do with so many factors: the content, your, all the keywords you use will drive whatever content, and of course, the number of views. The more views you got in a video and on a channel, you can be put in a separate category of ads that are not necessarily, because ads are paid for so many things in so many ways. I ran ads through the Google AdWords thing when I was doing my tech jobs so that they'd pop up locally here in the city of Montreal on websites for my tech duties to see if it worked. And it kind of worked. But when I did that campaign, I noticed how there's so many factors and so many things you can add to your own advertising. So you can pay more to push more and to have, it's so weird. You can actually have ads go through only networks that have 1 million views. All sorts of things like that. Of course, you pay more for that because there's a lot more people watching. So it's very, very complex the way that they do all of it. C-Crane CC Skywave SSB2. Well, people that have it seem to be happy. I can't really talk about how improved it is. It is definitely an improvement. It has a antenna socket now for external antennas. Apparently the sound is better. How much better, I don't know. It depends. It's my main thing about the CC Skywave SSB2 is mostly that for half the price you can get something that is as good. Um, where I have a hard time with the Skywave SSB and SSB2 is that for the price that it's sold and it's muting when you tune, that shouldn't be at that price. It has no weather channels, which is something we don't see a lot of on radios. So it depends. Really depends on so many factors and so many things. What else do we have? Yeah, cat food, litter. Yeah, absolutely, Joe Spring. Definitely with Paul the cat. There's a lot of things like that. So it's things that I'm thinking about. Um, that what else do we have? Keegan the Xer, nice to have you here. Jim Gordon, nice to have you here from Scotland. Southern Illinois, shortwave, nice to have you here. Oh yeah, the radio today isn't what it was when even when I was a teenager. Tuning the AM band was fun. Today is just trash talk. Bob's old records. Used to listen to Jones back in the 90s. Shortwave archive, getting CHU on 14670. Cool. Yeah, it's amazing how things can go pretty far. Sheila, nice to have you here from Ontario. Electric Bloke, got my first SDR today, but I have a Chromebook, which seems to be a problem. Yeah, you'll need to have a computer with Windows or something like that. Chromebooks will not work with SDRs at all because they need a special driver to run them. It is the sad thing about Chromebooks. Storm radios and cats. Okay, figures all I need is connecting anyway. My internet speed is not where it should be. Yeah. J Projects, nice to have you here. Yeah, I don't want to have radio ads, that's for sure, because I don't want to have to deal with that. By having ads that are neutral, it's I think it's fine. Rotten Animal, nice to have you here. I think it's fine. Electric Bloke, nice to have you here from England. Jeffrey Crop, thank you for the tip. And yeah, I will, Jeffrey. Promise, I'll do this week. Completely forgot. I have all this stuff here. Anyways, I've got QSL and a few things that I need to send, so that'll be in the mail, Jeffrey, this week. What else do we have? Yeah, I'll be checking that out, Danny Shortwave, because there's also something else that I have to balance in here, and that's the other thing, is that when you have only one channel, it's fine to take care of that channel and do a lot of stuff, but you got to remember here, I cannot add too much to what I'm doing because I got to take care of what pays the most, which is my tech channel. So I can't take time away from that. It has to be into a certain, what else do we have? Summon Templar, nice to have you here. And yeah, I don't think there's going to be any replacement for the 750, but yeah, check it out. What else do we have? Yeah, Jim Gordon. It happens often at the late afternoon. I tune in to 15580. I like to tune some of the. It was very interesting the other day. I made a video. They had they had a special talking about 50 years of hip hop, which was very very interesting. Going back in time to what essentially started hip hop and all of that and music industry. It's really really cool to listen to. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that like our Gisela Crafter's Kitchen, Texan. If Texan comes out with any radios, it's going to be low end radios. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. Radio Kid, do you think Texan will start discontinuing some of their current models? Yeah, well, I think what happens is that they're going to, if models get discontinued, will be the higher end ones. I would say. I think they've found, like XH data, the market is really for cheap radios right now. So, and depending on how shortwave goes, and sales of radios and all of that, I don't know, but definitely it's something interesting that we'll have to follow about the radios for sure. Jeffrey Crop puzzling. Recently, I put up my MLA 30 Plus. Works very well without USB connected. With USB power, bad static. That's the power supply you're using is creating too much noise in it. It should be working better with the power on. I'm guessing the power supply you're using is maybe too noisy, Jeffrey. Thank you, Bob Raymond, for the tip. Thank you so much. Happy Labor Day. Yeah, here in North America, it's Labor Day weekend. Definitely. Yeah, I don't think if Texan would discontinue radios, I don't think the 330 would be some of them. Mad Radio DXer, thank you for the tip. Nice to have you on board as usual. And says, can I make a suggestion for more live shows to create a fundraiser? And if it reaches the target, yeah, that's something that I did think of. Kind of create a target zone where if I get a certain amount of donations, and we can add the live show. Yeah, I'll be checking that out for sure. Archers out of crafters. Actually, no. What happens? Well, Chromebooks have an end date. You already know when you buy a Chromebook. You already know until when your Chromebook is supported. So you will have, depending on the Chromebook you buy, a end of life date already on it. For example, the Chromebook I got here, which I didn't pay a lot for in a couple of years ago, its end of life is 2025. So in it, it's I think it's June 2025. After that date, it will not be supported anymore. Now, I could possibly run Linux on it or something, but Chromebooks all have a finite time. So when you get a Chromebook, if you ever buy one, make sure that you look at its end of life date before you purchase it, because you might be surprised and get a Chromebook that doesn't have a lot of time left. But Chromebooks all have an end of life date. Actually, in there's a Google page that you can go to and check your model number, and it will tell you when that Chromebook is end of support. Joe Spring, my tech channel is more into news of what's happening in tech, tips and tricks on how to use Windows and other things like Android, and now I'm going to add a little more Linux content to it. All sorts of news of the latest updates and Windows updates and the security updates of different platforms, including Apple, stuff like that. It's for the tech enthusiast a lot. And there's some tips and tricks for people that are more into the newbie and the tech, and Windows and computers stuff. So it's just that the Chromebooks, when they're end of support, they get into what is a hazardous security zone, because they don't get security updates anymore. They don't stop working at per se. It's like when you get end of support of Windows, your computer still continues to work. It's just that it gets it's more of a security problem, because you got no more security patches. Jeffrey, yeah, I have plugged my 750 on the ML830. It works. It works. Hey, Michael, nice to have you here. Storm Radios and Cats, nice to have you here. Joshua, nice to have you on board. W4GOG, nice to have you on board, my friend. Simon says was able to get a new ham. Interested in listening for Pirate Radio. Played a recording I made Thursday on the FTDX10. Cool, Simon. Hey, Frank and 5COP, nice to have you on board. What is the one Texan radio you would recommend for home listening? Price is not a factor. Overall, if you want to have a home radio that works great and has amazing sound and will have FM stereo with good sound to it too, I would, if price is no object, I would tell you to get the Texan H501X. Definitely a great radio. And it's nice big radio too. Doesn't mute when you tune. It's really, really nice for that. That would be my suggestion. But you don't have to go as high as that. You can, if you get a Texan PL 880 or 990, it's also very, very, very good. Joanne Leroux, nice to have you on board in Cape Town, South Africa. Nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? What is Crafters Kitchen? Oracle offers free copy of Linux to anyone who wants to download it. Have you tried it or any plans to review on your tech channel? Well, I have. I will be looking at different free distributions of Linux of all sorts on the channel. So everything will be. I'll be going through all of that slowly and checking it out, mixing in the content in there. Southern Illinois. Yeah, we'll see, and we'll see in the fall. Right now, the only machines that seem to not be able to have Windows 11 unsupported is the insider ring. So I don't know if that is going to be officially done on 23H2. We'll keep our fingers crossed for unsupported, definitely. Christopher, I think portable shortwave receivers are doomed. Many people are now discovering SDR radio. Honestly, I don't think portable radios are doomed in any way because they are what sells the most. SDR caters to a specific audience, the geekier radio guys that we are. But honestly, it is not. I don't think it interferes with portable radios at all in sales. Portable radios are portable radios. They cater for most people. That's what they want. If somebody wants a radio and is not a crazy radio geek like we are, honestly, anybody that's interested in radio is buying a portable probably because it's not. That's not, an SDR is not what they want. But, us geekier radio guys do want SDRs. We like that for sure. Joshua, got me the MLA 30 Plus and love it, but not so good on medium wave bands. Still want to play more with antennas, but very happy. Cool. Two Dogs Radio was on Thursday on 6955. Cool, Simon. Richard Bigner, nice to have you here. Radio Kids, same annoying thing on Chromebooks as phones. Security updates stop even though the phone worked fine. Yeah. That is a huge, huge problem. One of the things I was talking about is all the Internet of Thing devices also that stop getting updates for security, which makes them kind of dangerous, but still they're perfectly fine and continue working, which is kind of sad. Joe Spring, I found that the MLE 30 Plus is somewhat directional. I wanted to put it away from the house in a fixed position. It's directional on some local stations, like on medium wave, it will be very directional. But on shortwave, with stations that come from far away, it isn't much. Usually, what most do is position it somewhere where you will actually null or make the noise floor as low as possible, and then just leave it like that. Trevor Cooper, how I would describe skip conditions from the 80s to now. It's not necessarily this that I would talk about as being a problem per se. It's tough to compare the 80s to today, because I mean, in terms of solar activity, let's look at propagation purely and just simply. Is that propagation today is as good as probably it was in the 80s, because the solar activity is pretty high now, and the higher bands are there, and it's really, really nice. There's two major problems that make it difficult to compare today. It's that the noise floor is so high today that, first of all, it interferes with what we could hear, which was not a problem back in the 80s. So the noise is making it kind of tough. And the other problem is, of course, the number of signals is not the same. so it's more difficult to actually compare. But if in all being equal, if there would be as many signals and as many and as low noise as the 80s, we would be right now in a really good position. And actually, if you get low noise floor, enough of a low noise floor, honestly, you are going to find that conditions are actually pretty good, and the higher frequencies are propagating very well. Because right now we're in pretty good conditions, uh, for sure. Hunters out of crafters, portable radios are far and away the most popular form factor. Desktops peaked in the mid late 90s or so, but portables are still the best bang for the buck. Yep, yep. Like Ricky says, portable shortwave radios are definitely not doomed. Dare I say, we are seeing incredible value in performance. Absolutely. I mean, we've never had such amazing radios for such low prices. It's just crazy. King in DXer says I'd probably use an SDR if I was recording FMDX while away from home. Yeah, that would be a nice thing for sure. EP, is the Sangean ATS 909X2 really that bad? I'm looking to buy the 99X2 versus PL 990. You know, so all radios have flaws, and so the 909X2, what makes it a radio that's tough buy for the price it's sold is that a lot of people complain of low audio on a single sideband. Now, that said, yes, it is if you have or if you use the radio just with the telescopic antenna. Definitely in single sideband is very low audio. Now, that said, um, if you put an external antenna on it, it's not a problem. And I think many people that returned it because of low audio didn't use it with an external antenna. But with an external antenna, that isn't much of a problem. It's a nice radio. The 909X2 is, I mean, there's one. So, it's definitely a beautiful looking radio. What I do like in single sideband, if I had to choose one thing that I like better on the 909X2 than the PL990, the automatic gain control, the AGC in single sideband, makes the audio softer on the 909X2. It's less difficult, less harsh to the ears to listen to single sideband signals than the 990, sorry. But the 990 has more precise tuning, better audio. It's a tough one. You know what? If I'd be in front of I don't have a radio, and I get in front of a display, and somebody tells me you got to choose one between this and the 990, I gotta say I'd hesitate. Knowing what I know about it, it's not the best radio out there. I might be tempted to choose the Sangean instead. Because, like I said, even though the precision and tuning is not as perfect, I can cope. I can live with that. The single sideband is less harsh. It's nice. It has RDS and a FM, which is nice. Got airband. You don't have airband on the 990. So definitely, I can cope with its small flaws and maybe choose this better. It's it's a tough one. I'm trying to think if I get into the I have to choose, you'll get this or you'll get the 990. I would probably jump on this and say I'm going to take this. I will find more interest in using this one. And yet I like the Texan PL 990. The only thing is on telescopic, yeah, the single sideband is low audio, definitely. Yeah, Christopher. Yeah, it'd be fun if you could use the SDR on the car. D Matthews next. Portable for me, Countycom GP7. Yep, nice little radio. GP7 SSB right here. Got one right here, which is a Texan PL368 in reality, but with a better antenna. Definitely. I'm trying to go down here. Like or die, I have a PL990 and it's a fine radio, but I think it's overpriced. I mean, it's $100 more than the PL880 for an antenna switch MP3 Bluetooth player. Yeah, but it does have better performance from what I've seen on many blogs in the FM department. But it goes a lot with what I often say is when people tell me, I got a PL880, should I get the 990? I'm always like, nah, you're fine. You're fine. David, I'm lately making SSBDX QSOs that I never made able to do before. So cool. Cool. Have fun. Yes, we probably could. I'm pretty sure we could. Honestly, in the good conditions, I'm pretty sure we could make it on SSB voice. For sure. Like or die, my former 1980 realistic DX300 would cost $1,800 and $23. Yep. Yep. I mean, how many radios today that we pay prices that are ridiculous and beat tons of radios from the day? Look at the Panasonic RFB 300 that I've been playing with, which is an old radio. You know what? The Texan PL330 beats that radio like crazy, and yet it costs less to purchase today than the price of the Panasonic RFB 300 was back in the 80s. It's crazy. It's crazy what you got today. And that is why, when somebody tells me, well, it's kind of expensive to be in the hobby. Well, no, it is not. It is not. It is actually never been so inexpensive to get a decent radio working, Southern Illinois, shortwave. What's the best portable or desktop shortwave? The answer is the one you like, the one you enjoy, and the one you use. Turn on, tune around, and enjoy. Yep, definitely. And, there's a lot of people that come to me and say, well, I got an old radio. And, I'm thinking, should I buy something new? And it's like, no, your old radio probably is fine. I don't see why you should get something new. You. Yeah, the Texan PL368 is the same as the Countycom GP7 SSB. Jeff King, so they never fixed the def whip antenna on the ATS 909X2. Well, it's not as bad as the 909X and 909, but it definitely still is a little deaf. But since I use my radios almost always with some form of wire antenna on it, I'm okay. Mr. Bob Newell, nice to have you here. Mike Thornton, nice to have you on board. WC0L, Kansas. Love my FTD-X10. It's an amazing transceiver. Amazing transceiver. What else do we have? Oh yeah, CRI and in Cuba relays are really, really bad. I can tell you that. Yes, we need to do an FT8 contact, Mad Radio DXer. Absolutely, absolutely. We need to do that. Definitely something to take time. M7EIW. I should actually jot down. I know that you told me you've had seen me before on one of the FT8 frequencies. Electric Bloke, if you already had an old DGN D1103 PLL, would you buy a Texan 330 or stick with the 1103? I'd go with the Texan PL330 for it's the add of several features I love, like the ETM scan. And I like the fact that I can tune very, very precisely in the frequency range because it has the additional digits in SSB for tuning around. But there's all sorts of things here. It's like I got the old DGN D1103, and for the tuning without muting is definitely better. Audio better on the DGN because it's bigger, has a bigger speaker. There's a few things that definitely are making it better there also. It's tough to make a choice sometimes. Take care, me, G. Always nice to have you on board. Oh yeah, definitely. I need to get back into single sideband voice. Been doing way too much FT8 lately. But it all has to do with one major factor is I've been using my ham gear very late. And because my neighbor is right there on the other side of sleep there, I hesitate to make voice contacts after at midnight because I'm afraid that might be a nuisance. So I just do FT8, which is very quiet. But definitely need to get back into some single sideband stuff. Errol Henderson, nice to have you here from Norway, and says today we had field day in Norway, over 100 contacts in different bands over Europe. So cool, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yeah, PL680 analog tuning, very good, and doesn't mute. Definitely, if it's still available. I think it's going to be more and more difficult to find though with time. The Texan PL680. But definitely, yeah, good radio. It's a good old style PLL radio. Nelson. Depends what you want, but there's a lot of choice out there. Okay, yeah, you saw me on the 20 meters one morning. 10 meters has been open a lot lately in the morning here, which is afternoon to you in the UK. Jeffrey Crop says we all like new toys occasionally, and we have a few dollars. The significant other has not appropriated. Yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, we've got to understand that for some other people, it might not always be a good idea to spend money on radio. So VOA coming in better. Oh yeah. Very, very good signal to VOA on 15580. I believe. Let's try this. I want to try LRE 36 from Antarctica. I believe is on 15476. Not hearing anything, but if anybody hears LRA 36 on 15476. What else do we have? Radio Kid, if your old radio works, just use it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Unless you have an old radio that's much, not one of the best out there, that maybe something could be better, but yeah, but the Eton 750 isn't worth that price. I would never buy that at that price. It's not worth it. But most portable radios are still at decently priced. The good little portables are really, really nice and around the 100-ish. David says, yes, sometimes I make CSB QSLs a bit later into the night, and it's kind of tough. I half whisper into the mic, hoping that both the DX hears me, and I don't wake up everybody in the house. Yeah, you gotta be careful on that. Here, that's why I've been making a lot of FT8, because the times that I've been making ham radio contacts, got to be quiet. So FT8 is quiet. It's really, really makes very quiet conditions, One thing I wanted to talk, somebody actually asked me if I could talk about it in an email. His name is, let's check it out here. His name is Chris, and he's in Los Angeles, California. So Chris is asking me about. So we're gonna put things straight here a little bit on the these HF trading signals. So you guys might have seen that there was a petition sent to the ARRL, and there's these agencies that have these trading stations. They're going to send like stock info and trading information via HF. And they're going to send that, and there's already a few stations that are experimenting, even one here in Canada. And this would be HF stations that would be digital transmissions, encrypted digital transmissions. What they wanted was they want to be licensed and be able to use shortwave spectrum to send out stock and trading information on a shortwave. And of course, one of the first questions that comes from Chris is, why are they using the internet to do that? Why do they need to use shortwave? And I understood the reason for shortwave due to what we call latency. So when you are using the internet, there's always something called latency, which is the amount of time for the connections to go through everywhere. So when for example, my video stream here has a certain latency depending on where you are in the world. It takes a little more time or less time depending on the distance, the different interconnections that need to be done for that video to go to your computer, your ISP, and so on. And so what happens is that it creates a little delay, which is what we call latency. One great way to see latency is to go to speedtest.net, do a speed test with your local server. But in speedtest.net, you can actually go and click on a map and choose a server from somewhere else around the world. And you'll notice that if you take a server that's halfway around the world from you, the latency goes way up. It takes a lot more time for that ping to be sent out to that server and that reply coming back to you via the internet. So what I understood is that latency isn't there on shortwave. It's a direct radio signals that goes to the speed of light. So what I understood from these trading companies is that the milliseconds difference in trading speed could make a huge difference for someone somewhere that might be doing stock trading or so on. So that's why they are looking at the shortwave spectrum, because it's like, oh, that's really fast. And as they are saying, they can cope with the fact that it's not always 100% reliable in exchange for the fact that, the latency is so low that it's worth it to use it. So that's one of the reasons they want to do that. The other thing is a lot of hams are scared of where they're going to take over our spectrum and the government's going to sell the spectrum to these companies. And no, it ain't going to happen. And it ain't going to happen for another reason, is that shortwave cannot be sold to somebody that buys it because it is ruled by international rules. It's not TV channels that are local to only a country. It's a medium that propagates throughout the world. You have to follow the international rules. You can't sell shortwave spectrum. So what happens is that a lot of hams are scared that, maybe they're going to take away the HF spectrum for the ham bands and so on. No, they're not. And actually, when you look at what they're asking for, it's very simple. They are asking, so on shortwave, there's different types of users. And on the utility bands, we've got what's called fixed stations. A lot of the frequencies are with a title that's just called fixed stations, land stations, fixed stations. And what happens with that is that they want to use those frequency ranges where there would be some place, because let's face it, there's a lot of utilities out there. There's less than there was in the past. There's a lot of the spectrum that is not used or very seldom used. So they want to have the rules updated. What the trading companies that will own the transmitters want to do is tell the FCC and tell everybody, look, the rules that were made for fixed stations were rules that were made in the 1950s with the technologies of the 1950s. We're in 2023. Our stock trading signal, to be efficient, requires a bigger bandwidth. So what they want, fixed stations right now and the utility bands have limits of, 3 kilohertz or things like that in bandwidth. But the problem is their digital signal measures 25 kilohertz wide. So what they're saying is, can we update the rules so that we could use 25 kilohertz spacing on some of the frequency ranges for our signal to go through? So that's where it's going right now. Now it's interesting because the ARRL, which got a lot of complaints of hams and of people considering that, came back because it clearly understands what the training stations are going to be all about. The ARRL just came back and said, okay, here's the complaint we have. And that's what's being sent to the FCC. The ARRL is not having any problems with the fact that, yeah, we'll be updating the rules so that these wide bandwidth trading stations could have their spectrum. And let's face it, we're 2023. And if a new player like these trading stations want to use some parts of the spectrum for their trading signal, why not? Why not? It's a signal like anything else, as long as they respect rules and don't interfere with the others. Where this happened to be a problem is that the technical aspect of the trading station transmitters have been sent out, and the ARRL, after studying what was given as technical info, says that there isn't enough tightening of the rules to make sure that the trading stations don't interfere with, say, the ham bands. And what the ARRL told the FCC is, we have no problem with these trading stations operating in those frequency ranges in the utility bands. What we have a problem with is that the rules that will actually be in place for their transmitters need to be as tight as the ones and as the rules that we have for our own amateur radio gear. I mean, amateur radio signals need to abide by very strict rules as not to interfere and have harmonics and have all sorts of spurious signals. What the ARRL says is these guys need to also be operating within those very tight rules, that they will never interfere with amateur radio or any other user of the shortwave spectrum. But it's very interesting. So I heard and I've seen a few things, and there are some tests still going on apparently from time to time, but we don't know. In the near future, there might be these new types of signals popping up on the utility bands, which is those new trading stations. So it's going to be interesting. Harold Anderson. Oh, you had a contact with India from Norway. That was cool. That is cool. WF7I says there, I want to do more SSB, but there's so much DX on FT8. Yeah, it's a question of mix of all sorts of things for sure. Matt says, given that China reportedly built the transmitters in Mali, I wonder why Cuba doesn't allow them to rebuild RHC's transmitters. Yeah, I don't know. Or unless it's China itself that doesn't want to do it. I mean, it's crazy. Thank you, Sheila, for your tip. Much appreciated. Make sure I got your email in my so that you could be added to the private Zoom that will happen in 2 weeks from now. Want to make sure that everybody that has donated in August and throughout the month of September until then, that everybody can participate in our little private Zoom. It'll be a lot of fun. Richard, yeah, they do use the web for trading, but like I said, the latency of shortwave would make it more attractive and apparently make a difference because some of the stuff would get there a fraction of a second sooner. Yeah, John, Chicago area. There's one apparently somewhere near Toronto here in Canada. And there might be quite a few more that are going to pop up also in Europe and everywhere. So it's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. If we hear these new, as soon as I hear one of them and that I can actually make sure that it is, I will make a video for sure. W5KY, Jesse, nice to have you here. Richard, yeah, there's something called the Spectrum Monitor, which is a electronic publication. Do I have my tablet with me? I don't believe, but I am subscribed to the Spectrum Monitor. The Spectrum Monitor is and has the feel and is like monitoring times, definitely. And so the Spectrum Monitor is really, really, but it's electronics only. There's no paper magazine. It's something like $36 a year, something like that, for 12 issues, and it has the feel of monitoring times. It's the same pretty much. 80K. How many megahertz can your SDR display at one time? And is there an SDR on the market under 100 that can display more? Well, it depends on the SDR. If you use an SDR, like the SDR Play RSPDX that I have, can display 10 megahertz at a time. But that will be dependent on another factor. To be able to use the full spectrum, your PC needs to be powerful enough and have USB ports fast enough to gather all of the data that comes in. If your PC can do it, the RSPDX can do 10 megahertz at a time. And I don't know of any other that displays more than that. Yeah, Blogger Dying. That's what we're saying is that the few milliseconds to 100 milliseconds that they can actually save is enough to make a difference. And that's why shortwave is interesting for them, because it's the fastest way to do it. You know, a lot of people think, oh, we can do, satellite stuff and stuff like that and communications. But what people don't understand is that satellite communications might sound fancy and the future of radio or of signals, but in reality, not only is it extremely costly, it's so far away because the satellites are in geosynchronous orbit. They're so far away. The latency, the time the signal goes and comes back, is huge. One of the main reasons the internet doesn't use satellite. Most of the internet connections between the websites, between my stream here, doesn't go through a satellite. My stream here, you're getting all of that wherever you are through cables that are on the ground, underground, or under the water, under sea, because it is faster than using satellite links. And satellites are used really where it's impossible to do it with a cable. So That's that those things are a huge difference. That's for sure. So just check it out here. Matter of the Xer, my concerns with the trading station is that it will be operated by someone who has no idea about radio and will cause interference to hams. Yeah, but they have to follow rules. So if you put up a transmitter, and I mean to put up a transmitter, you need to know what you're doing. And that's the thing. It's as long as the rules, because their own the way that is the wording has been done about the trading stations. The people that put up the trading station info know what they're talking about. They're not idiots. They know the spectrum of shortwave. They are mentioning the fixed station frequencies of the utility bands. They have done their homework, so it's not as scary as it might be. But they just need to make sure that the transmitters run right and respect the simple rules. But there's a lot of changes that need to be done in here, because we got to remember that if they want to use that, changing bandwidths, changing the rules of the utility bands, this has to be actually done internationally. It can be done just with one country, especially if they want to have 25 kilohertz wide signals that will be 20 kilowatt in power, because that's the power they want to run. It's 20 kilowatts. And there'll be like a dozen stations around the world doing this. So, one thing for sure is if it causes interference in any way in the ham bands, it you can report it, and it will have to be addressed. It can't stay like that. So we'll see. We got to give them a chance of what they want to do, but what the ARRL mostly is saying is make sure that they follow and they abide by the radio specifications and the rules that will make sure they don't interfere with anybody else. So we'll see what comes out of that. But I think it's the fact that they already have been doing some tests is showing that they're dead serious about putting these on for sure. Voislav, nice to have you here. Have the IARU? Yeah, that's the thing. It will have to be discussed. That's for sure. Rotten Animal. When I worked for AT&T, I could log into a network in Australia from Toronto in 70 milliseconds. My signal would go Toronto to a router in Australia. The router recognized my signal and replied. Mike WX50, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Brian Penny, damn, I don't look nearly as dapper in my security t-shirt as you do, Joel. Got to work on that. Oh, man. Yeah, but that's a different thing. Jean Arash. Starlink is a internet based service in low Earth orbit satellites, which is different. But the traffic through the internet doesn't use internet in general, and the satellites for that the low latency it gives. Those are different because the Starlink fleet is low Earth orbit, so you typically connect to satellites that are very close to you. So Ricky just shared a link for that. Yeah, Also, like Ricky says, one thing I hadn't taught from the site, radio signals travel in the shortest possible path. Apparently, an additional benefit over fiber hotline links. Yeah, because the internet isn't point A to point B directly. The internet can be point A to point B to point C to point D to point E to the final point, which can slow it down dramatically also. Really kid, if Jill thinks Texan PL680 will go away, maybe buy one. You know, the reason I'm mentioning that is more and more people have been mentioning they're getting harder and harder to find them, which makes me wonder if Texan wouldn't at some point just say, hey, let's stop. Because let's face it, the Texan PL680 is probably much more expensive to create, to build for them than the new DSP radios. So they might be tempted at some point saying, this costs a lot of money. Our profit margin isn't that high. Maybe it's better to stop. So I've seen a lot of people and mentioning this. It seems to be harder and harder to find online. I've been having a hard time here in Canada finding one if I go on to search for it. The thing is they have to use, so since their training stations will be operating and going through different countries and continents, you can't use only one spectrum. So you can't use just 14,500 to 15,000 because it's not going to work all the time. They need to have several different places depending on when the signal, like shortwave stations. Why do shortwave stations change frequency through the day? Is very simple. It's because it is their way of coping with the fact that propagation changes through the day. So they will need to find other spots also. What they want to do is use some of the utility frequencies where fixed stations are available. Yeah, but they're not going to be in the ham bands. They're going to be in the fixed utility stations. They're not going to be in the ham bands. These stations are not in the ham bands. These stations are going to be on utility frequencies in different bands. But they're not going to be in the ham bands at all. W5KY Jesse, spectrum monitor is almost exactly the same as monitoring times. Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. Jeff King says, I do believe that Texan has stopped making the PL600. Yeah. Yep, radio waves, Alex Jones leaving shortwave. Running out of money. Got that last lawsuit just cost too much. Yeah, no, they're not going to be in the ham bands. They specifically asked for the fixed station part of the utility bands. The concern is just that if their transmitters are not top shape, well controlled, that because some of them, for example, you talked about 14,500. So the 20 meter ham band ends at 14,350 on the upper part. The concern is that if they show up on, say, 14,400, because it's close to a ham band, if they're not good quality, tight enough transmitters, that they could technically interfere in the ham band next to it. Yeah, I would think that they just want to have a chunk of utility signals, and I mean, there's enough space in the utility bands. You look at, do a scan of, I don't know, 8 megahertz and 12 megahertz. You notice that there's probably a lot of place in there that they could just, hey, we already have to deal with those real large, huge bandwidth, signals that are out there, that are radar signals of all sorts. So, hey, you know, so it's what will mostly be the allocation, because the stations could be there already. What really will be the rule change is in the bandwidths, because that's where, and that's what they're asking for, is we need to, because all the frequencies they want to be on does not allow 25 kilohertz wide signals. The band plan does not allow that right now. So what they're saying is, look, we want to be here, but we need to have allocations available for 25 kilohertz wide signals. From different places I've seen anywhere from like 20 to 35 kilohertz wide. So these are going to be pretty wide frequencies, bandwidth signals. But that will need to change, because the rules right now do not allow to have these bandwidths on these frequencies at all. Yeah, I would guess, and like I said, um, like I said, the what when you read what they are asking for, you realize that it's not something that just got put together in one day and thrown on the table. When you start reading what they're saying, they have done the homework to understand what shortwave is. They even talk about propagation conditions. They have done their homework in understanding where they could be in the shortwave spectrum, and they know that there's need to be a change in regulations for their signal to be allowed there. So that's where it doesn't, I'm not scared, because I have the impression of seeing somebody that wants to put up these things, but has done the homework to understand where and how it has to be done. And I think for that reason, I think we should give them a chance. I think the regulation should, I think we should allow them to be there. I don't see why not. I don't see why not. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of space on the HF spectrum now. It's not like in the the 70s and the 80s, when like it was just chock full of everything everywhere. There was no space for anything. Now, yeah, there's place for 25 kilohertz signals in the utility bands here and there. You know, just choose the frequencies correctly. Imagine if pirates, hackers try to disrupt some of these financial transactions. Yeah, well, it's not transactions per se. It's not transactions per se. It's really more trading info. So if they would jam, well, what would change is that for that reason they'd be in, they'd do it through the internet to compensate. But it's really, because from what I understand is that these are not transactions. None of that in there is going to have transactions. It's really going to have important information related to traders that will want to do the transactions and have it as fast as possible. So take care, Rob's Radio Channel. Good night. Take care, Francis Moore. Take care. Sheila. Yeah, here's the email. So I just want to mention once again, for those of you that are doing or have done any of the super chat donations today and through the month of or the super thank in a video through the month of August and until in 2 weeks, you all are invited to a private Zoom. So you done a transaction here, gave me a donation of some sort, whatever amount, or if you gave me a PayPal donation, um, this is the PayPal address for the donations. There, it's fun because I've got your email. You will all be on September the 16th at 20 UTC, part of a private Zoom. So this is for PayPal donations for those that want to do it and be in the Zoom. Like I said, any amount of donation, as long as you donate a little something, you're part of that Zoom. And I need your email. So send your email for a Zoom official shortwave radio at gmail.com. So this is where you send me your email to make sure I got it. You will be added to my distribution list. And so this will probably become a monthly thing. Every month, everybody that has donated will do our private Zoom together. So I think this is something that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll focus on more one-on-one thing, talk about radio, and share together and just have fun. So this is to thank you for the donations, guys. This is to thank you for the donations. So this is going to be I think a lot of fun, and it's my way to say thank you for all of those that have donated. And I want to say a big thank you to this. And we'll see. I'm going to add things, like I said, in the coming weeks. We're going to have, one-on-one Zoom meetings on shortwave that will be available for a small fee. And maybe the idea of that was thrown out also earlier of want to add another live show, free live show. Well, if we reach a certain amount of donations, then there could be an added live show free of charge to everybody. We're going to think about all of these features, and I want to thank everybody. So, hey, hope you enjoyed the show today, the return, and it was a lot of fun to be here. We'll be back with the special Zoom for all of the donations in 2 weeks. And for now, we'll be back in October. So it's nice to have all of you here. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Thanks to everybody that have donated a little something. And so the next show officially is October the 7th. So Saturday, October 7th, mark your calendar. There will be the next show at 20 hours UTC. And for those that have donated and are going to donate until then, there's the special private Zoom that's coming up on the 16th at 20 hours UTC. Check your emails. The Zoom link will be in there a few days before the event. So I'm going to get all of your emails into a list, and you'll all get a email with the Zoom link when we get there. So like I said, any donation amount, everybody will be welcome to the Zoom link in 2 weeks, as long as you've done a small donation. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed today. See you next month. See you in 2 weeks for some of you. And who knows what else in the near future. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.